Hello, everybody, and welcome to Case Management 1, Week 6, Wednesday. And I will just remind everybody, hello, Danny. I'll just remind everybody that Sunday's class will be changed to Saturday because I've got electrical outage scheduled. So,
no problem.
Yeah, great. I don't think many people come anyway because the end of the holidays are starting, and everyone will be getting drunk, celebrating.
Yeah, well, I've got a kid-free weekend, so there's a good chance we'll be doing that.
With today, I thought we would be questioning. We're looking at micro skills today. I thought because the assessment's coming up after the break. And Carly, do you want to tell me about your assessment? You're going to go and do yours in Melbourne on campus.
Yep.
And you all ready to go?
No, I wouldn't say that. But I haven't selected anybody yet. I'm pretty
I'm not sure if I'm getting this wrong. I keep getting different information. I'm reading information which says you select there and information which says you will be given. But
well, it's actually... It's all on the same page that those two things are written.
Right.
So halfway down it says you will be given a client, and then down the bottom it says online and on-campus students are to select the client.
Yeah. So
I think we just choose.
Yeah, I don't. The thing is, for the assessments, you have to be aware of everybody anyway, because when it comes time for assessment 2B, you've got to hand in 3 reports. When it comes time for 2C, 3 case plans. And when it comes time for 3, you've got to do referral options for 3 clients and a referral for 1 client, a referral document for 1 client. It's all clear as mud. Oh, actually, is that right? Did I just make that up? That's the development I've made. I think I just made that up, that last bit. Scrub that. The lack of professionalism in here is amazing. What I'm going to do is go to a document for you. I'll find this first. I'll put things away that shouldn't be seen and open things up that should be seen. We've got the client things here. I've had to change one of the client's case studies names because of a complaint, because I added a last name, which I shouldn't have done. Apparently, I was told it was something else, but I have this client here. I'll share the screen with you because we're going to go through and discuss questioning. So we'll start with the first client, Aaron. And I put his last name as Malakis. And so I looked online, somebody complained, said it means something else, which is not as good as what I found. And on Google, it said the surname Malakis in Greek, Malakas, means a stupid person. So it'd be Aaron, stupid person. Sheer accident on my part, but that's better than I was told what it was. Oh dear, I've even got his surname down there.
So is the mother still a stupid idiot?
Yeah, the email is. Copy that. I have to change that again, don't I? Oh dear. Well, we can't do that now, can we? Can we Control C? Let's try that, and let's try and Control V that. Control V. No, we can't. Oh dear, we definitely don't want to do that. That's it's all.
I'm not worried about it.
It's all gone to pot because I'll have to do this after. I shouldn't be doing this now. Oh yeah, there we go. And we'll just change that there as well. And we'll save that. Let's pull that back there. There we go. I save that. Right. Here we go. Now we're going to do questioning. What I want to do is talk to you about questioning, because questioning in the assessment itself, it's an appropriate time to discuss questioning, because questioning is a specific skill set for case managers. It's important. It's not the same as counselling. Counsellors are meant to kind of sit and listen, and there's specific skills in counselling which are, depending on the approach you take, around about getting people to open up and discuss things, and then in many cases be able to reflect on things they're saying and then try and listen to what they're saying and then have some feedback from their own heads going, and if not, you might give them a quick nod in that direction. So they'll say, you know, I'm very unhappy with this person, I really wanted to kill them. And you go, okay, so you felt very bad about that. And they say, yes, obviously I didn't really want to kill them, I just felt very bad about that. And you sort of, anyway, that kind of idea of reflective listening in counselling is specific service. Okay, mate, yeah, sorry, it's my dog. The questioning in case management needs to be more directive, but it needs to be, so you'll have a limited amount of time in an assessment. You need to focus your clients into tell their story, remain respectful of them as they're in the interview process, answer your questions so that you're able to complete an assessment record, and document information that is meaningful to you as a case manager, especially if we're doing this brokerage model of case management where you have to represent clients. Sometimes you represent them like an advocate to a service and say, this is a client who needs support in this regard, and the service will say, how will they work with our service? And you have to demonstrate they're capable of working with the service. So sometimes if you're assessing them, you've only got a limited amount of time, and it's quite hard to achieve all the aims, which is to build rapport, get the information you need, support them in telling their story and maybe dealing with some issues of trauma, and remain focused and develop all the information you need and show respect all the time without pushing somebody and forgetting about vital information that might be important. If you question people at the wrong time as well, you can veer off, you can stop somebody telling an important story because you're interested only in completing your form. So it's an interesting exercise. As somebody who's done millions of assessments, which I'm probably exaggerating a little bit, I've done tons, and I've done them in different scenarios, and I've found myself modifying documents because they're not good enough. And so I've made this document for you guys, but it's not to be handed in. It's for you to download and use in your interviews. So you can print it out. It's a Word document. You can find it on the portal. Let me show you where. It's not in there, is it? It's in. I'll show you where you can find this. It's in Case Management 1. Obviously, it'll be modified a little bit. Templates for assessments, but it's not a template for assessment. It is a sample assessment tool for the simulated client interviews. This is for you to use, and this will help you in the interview to generate information. So when it comes to assessment 2B, where you have to make the assessment report, this is up here, assessment appendix 3, BCC, that's Ballymore Community Centre assessment report. That is the document you hand in for assessment 2B. But the sample assessment tools down here, which is these documents, you see I'm calling it an assessment tool. This is a tool for you to generate information. So I've thought about my experience as a case manager and where I've been asking people to tell their story. So normally if you go into a service, you'll have somebody at the front desk and they will say, what's happening with you? and then they'll ask you to provide some basic information, an outline of what's going on. So this is where you might have this document, this section here, the intake. But this is without a case manager being present. They'll tell their situation. And so this is the situation we hear about Aaron, living at home with his parents, fighting with his parents, etc. And you might then go through as the case manager, you'll read that, and then you go, okay, so I've read that. Now it's time to go into the actual assessment, talk to Aaron, and ask Aaron some questions. So let's do that. The first point will be housing situation. What's his current living arrangement? So you say, Aaron, actually, saying that, my assignment for you this week is for you to ask the questions. So would you like, let's pretend that I'm Aaron. Danny, do you want to start? Why don't you ask me what's going on? Would you like to check some information?
Firstly, I would probably ask Aaron.
Yes.
I'm just wondering a little bit about your home situation at the moment. Who do you live with? Do you live by yourself or in a family unit?
Okay. Well, you could, Danny, because sorry, I'm going to be a little bit jumping around here, but you've read that. We know that Danny says he's living at home with his parents and he's having conflict.
Yeah, okay.
So you might actually go, I would start on that point. You've got this section, housing situation. So you can,
yeah.
And there's a discussion that we can all, so there's another, it's an important point that we're going to raise here. The client's just been outside the room and he's just given their information to the intake worker. And they've written it down, and now they're going to have to do it again 10 minutes later talking to you. So that can be...
Sorry.
Well, that can be a bit frustrating. So if you say, oh, look, I'm looking at this. It says here you're living at home. Is that right?
Yeah.
I'm living at home. And you're having some problems at home? So you can start being kind of direct in the first... So, yeah, Aaron, what sort of problems? Oh, yeah. Well, you're fighting with your dad. Why fight with your dad? Something happening? And, maybe as a female as well, you might be a little easier to talk to for Aaron if he's having conflict with a male member of the household. So certainly stuff like that can occur. But I would go off the information that we've got about Aaron.
Yeah.
And then run off on that.
Should we try and source out whether or not he actually wants to stay living at home or if he is...
Why not? Yeah, good question, Danny. So ask that question.
Okay. From what I've learned about you, Aaron, you're having trouble at home with your relationships. Are you hoping to resolve this and stay within the family home, or are you hoping to move out and live independently?
I like that question, Danny. It's very client-focused. You're going, what are you doing? What do you want? What is it that you've come here looking for? How can we help you? So I think that's a really positive. And so if you think about how you're going to build this relationship, we're using this tool, and we're going to use this tool as well as the interview situation to build a relationship. And you can see now that maybe asking questions in the right way and being a little bit clever about it can help you to develop a quick relationship with Aaron. You're showing support. You're asking him what he wants. You're seeing where he feels about something. You're not coming along going, you're only 19, and I'm telling you now, I'm not giving you somewhere else to live. Even though that might be, you could look at the situation on paper and go, well, I'm not putting him in emergency housing. That's nuts. I'm going to try and get him to reconnect with his family and resolve the conflict issues. But you get Aaron to open up a little bit about this, and then we can go down and we can talk about, we get to the next bit. So we're on the next bit, personal relationships, right? So Carly, let me ask you to move into that. Would you like to start some questioning there?
Can you tell me about the relationship you have with your father and your mother?
Okay, so if he says, well, it's not good. It's not, that's his answer, not good. do you say?
So what kind of problems are you having with your parents?
Okay, good. So you want to tease that out. So you're going to prompt out, and you kind of give some open questions for him to kind of outline his situation. So you might want to ask about, at this point, because you're talking about personal relationships, you might want to ask about if there's anybody he gets on with his family. He gets on with.
Is there anyone in
In
the
his family. Do you if you got siblings? Have you got a sister, a brother? Do you get on with them? How do they get on with your parents? All that sort of thing. And at the same time, when you're looking at personal relationships, you also want to be working out, is there a mental health issue here? You want to be starting to think about some of these things. Think about how the person's giving you feedback and information about, so I don't get on with my father, I don't get on with my mother, and I don't like my brother. My brother gets all the attention. So what would you say to that?
I would say, can you tell me how your brother gets all the attention? Can you explain a bit of that?
So you want to tease that out again, get more feedback about what he's saying, get an underlying, and see if that's reasonable. And so you want to actually weigh up. Is he being reasonable? If he says, my name's Harry Potter and I live under the stairs, you can go, fair enough. That probably is a reasonable thing. Whereas Dudley gets all the presents, right? You can go, fair enough, you've represented that situation correctly. But if he's not Harry Potter, and if he's a normal person, then he probably needs to, you probably have some reason to believe he's not feeling 100% emotionally or in his mental health situation. And why is that? So he might be paranoid or schizophrenic. There could be all sorts of reasons for that, right? But we're starting to identify. So we're going to ask him about his siblings, and try and find as well about his friends. Who are your friends? Do your friends live near?
Being that he's 19, like, would you ask him if he's got a partner? Or
Yeah, you might.
Is that inappropriate?
I'd want to find that out, and because that might have some bearing on it. I mean, I don't personally have any judgment whether he's gay, but I might want to know, because young people can feel very vulnerable if they have lifestyles which are not normally accepted in their community. And if he has trouble saying he's gay, and that might be a reason he's dropped out of school. He was bullied because somebody found out he was gay, maybe, or something like that.
Or his dad. That his dad might not accept.
Yeah, all of that, and that is great. So that sort of thing, and so see, if he's got no friends, that's going to tell you something, right? You know, Billy no mates. That's going to be a real thing that you want to think about. So there's a lot of stuff there that you can pull a lot out of that. Find out, and my basic thing is work out what's going on for this individual. And when you're watching the assessments with other people in the live thing and on campus, sit there and watch them and go, what questions would I be asking now? Because you'll see other students and they'll maybe not be very good, and go, how would I do that? Would I ask another question? Would I let that person just ramble on, or would I then move on to, you're not filling in the form. It's not a function of filling in the form. It's a function of understanding everything you can about that person. So you, in your own mind, you know who you think you know who that person is, so that you can go, right, I think I understand as much as I can about this person. I understand what their family situation is, whether they've got friends, can they rely on their friends, are they emotionally supported, is there a mental health problem there, what are the problems, do they have conflicts in other parts of it? Is it just conflicts with the parents, or are there conflicts in other, because they've obviously had a breakdown in education and things like that. And so you want to start identifying patterns of behavior as well. And this is what this tool does. You work through asking questions, but there's no direct questions on there. It's just you have to fill in the gaps. And the gaps are in your head, knowledge in your head. And then you have to represent that carefully, because you've got to realize that this is his information, so you've got to be very careful. So you go, yeah, you don't write down, Aaron is a bit of a nutter, he thinks his mum hates him, because he could read that, and this could be a document that goes into court. So you have to say, Aaron feels his parents don't respect him enough and he's not cared for at home. And you've got to represent that information in a respectful way, and you've got to represent it in a way that is kind of non-judgmental. You can use little notations on there, like a question mark, for example, meaning I'm not sure if I really understand that or believe it, or is there something we need to look at there, or something like this. But you've got to be very careful, because if this is a court document, you end up in court. Let's say Aaron goes out next week and kills himself, and then you become part of an inquest. And they say, you assessed that person. Why did you not risk assess them as being self-harming, a potential risk to self-harm and kill themselves? And so you might be subject, and you could be unemployed based on this fact that you've filled this document in. So it's quite a serious thing. So be very careful about how you write things that are factual, write things that are clear, write questions that you're not aware of, and be very limited, because also you're not writing a book. He came in, he was all breathy and out of breath, and he looked lovely in his warm coat. You know, you're not writing a book like that. So, you know, you've got to be very clear that the client presented as being not overly emotional. He was quite flat in his presentation, or Aaron was very excited in the interview and he found it difficult to tell his story. It became very emotional when he was talking about his parents. You've got to write simple statements like that. That's okay. But you can't write judgments that, you know, he's obviously jealous of his brother. You know, you could say Aaron mentioned that he was unhappy with the treatment he received in relation to his brother. He feels his brother receives better treatment. But actually going as far as to say he was jealous might be a big leap. And it might misrepresent what's being said. It might be an offhand comment that Aaron made that, yeah, he gets all the toys, I don't get any of the toys. Dudley gets everything, you know. So this sort of thing is an interesting, actually filling in these forms is very interesting science, and it takes a lot of practice to get it right, to go slowly, get the client, tell the story, keep the client moving forward, work through the form, get the information you need, identify the support needs, identify if there's any other problems that you've got, and to actually get all the information you need, keep the rapport going, not interrogate the person. It's not interrogation. Show respect because it's their information, and show support and sensitivity, and they might break down and find it a bit difficult. It's quite a complex thing. We're not just sitting there filling in the form. So as a tool, it's a really important thing to get it right. And so I'm saying to you guys, respect these tools and don't just go, oh, I've got to fill a form in. I know it looks like another form, but it's actually quite an important thing, because this will form the basis of everything that other people know about this person. Don't imagine you're writing the form for you. You're writing it for everybody else. You're hearing it firsthand. So you're establishing a pattern of evidence, if you like, for other people to get that information. Imagine you are not able to continue in your role and somebody else has to pick up on the client. So, right, shut up. Danny, time to go home now. Lucky we are all at home. Education and employment. Do you want to start with the next question?
Sorry?
Are you up with Danny's situation? Oh, sorry, Aaron. Okay, sorry. We've got another client in another course called Danny, and you're Danny. So it's Danny and Danny. And so, oh my God. And then it's Dudley.
I think I remember did he drop out of grade?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
he dropped out, I think, halfway through year 12.
Or did he drop out, or did he it says his behaviour changed?
Maybe he went to
Oh,
I
yeah.
think he started
Well,
TAFE.
Yeah, he dropped out of TAFE, not out of school. I think he just started failing halfway through grade 12.
That's when his marks started to go down.
So what do you say?
Yeah.
What question are you going to ask him?
Maybe. So, Aaron, it looks like you've had a difficult time throughout year 12. I was just wondering how that went for you. Did you end up completing your studies?
Okay. He says, no, I didn't. I didn't want to finish it.
Okay. Could you tell me a little bit about what was going on for you at that time?
Lovely.
And what made you not want to finish your studies?
And is there a follow-up? Do you want to go back? Do you want to go back?
Pardon?
Do you want to go back?
Would you like to go?
Yeah.
I didn't hear you say, keep cutting out. Did you say you didn't finish? You didn't pass?
No, I'm saying there's maybe a follow-up to the ones that you asked, which are, you want to go back to finish your education.
But I thought he did finish it.
No, he's dropped out.
I thought he dropped out of TAFE.
I thought he dropped out in year 12.
He recently quit his course at TAFE and now spends a lot of time in bed.
Oh, right. So, he's dropped out somewhere. He's dropped out at TAFE, so it's a vocational job.
Yeah.
So, but we could still ask him if he wants to go back, right?
Okay, yeah.
And
okay.
Why do we want to ask him that? This is the question.
We want to know where he's heading.
Yeah.
We want to know.
We want to identify some goals for him, and we actually want to get his head into a space where he's thinking hopeful thoughts, because it's a strength-based practice that we're following. So in terms of strength-based, we want to just kind of go, move forward, go positively. And even if there's a whole heap of stuff in the way, even if he's got a massive mountain of problems to overcome, it doesn't mean that we can't get him facing in the right direction to start walking in. That's kind of, and we start that in the assessment. And if he can't, we want to see how he feels about that. And if there is another, so we've got a breakdown. We've got a breakdown of what happened in the family, a breakdown in school. We want to see where he represents both of those breakdowns in his relationships and see what's happening. Is there a pattern there? So, and if he doesn't want to go back, no, why not? And does he say that in the same way he doesn't want to live with his family? I don't want to live with my family. I don't want to go back to TAFE. And start seeing where he is emotionally managing, handling stuff. Some people have like fight or flight responses and things like that. So you might kind of go, you want to find out about him as a person. So we could ask that. Carly, what's next on the list?
I'm not looking at the list.
Oh, on here, on this list.
Yeah. Of which list?
The one
on your screen.
Yeah, in the document.
Okay, so attendance or.
No, well, I reckon let's call that's part of the school thing. Let's go to income and employment.
Okay, so I guess if he wasn't keen to get back into his TAFE course, then the next step would probably be to be looking for some kind of employment.
Well, he's 19, right? So you want to know where he's getting any income.
Well, I would assume, being that he was enrolled in school, he would be having some kind of settling payment if he's studying.
But he's not. He's fallen out of that.
Oh, well, that's true.
And
I think most of them stay on it anyway, don't they?
They're just lazy, aren't they? They don't even work for it. They're dull scraps. No, what was I going to say? No, that's not really the point. Actually, what I want to know is where his income is and where it's going. This is why I want to talk about that. I don't really care whether he's getting an income personally. and if he's living at home with his folks and he is or he isn't receiving a Centrelink payment, that's really neither here nor there. It's not really going to be a big thing. What's the biggest point that we want to know about Aaron is, where's his money going? Because that'll tell us a lot. And when you ask him,
is he buying drugs?
Well, are you buying drugs, Aaron? What is the question we ask him? And do we ask him?
We said be direct.
Can you just ask him, do you have an income at the moment?
Yeah, do you have an income? Yeah, I am getting an income. I'm getting an education.
So where are you getting your income from?
Centrelink, education payment.
Okay. So, like you said, if he tells us that, that's okay, even though we know he's not studying. Is that correct?
Yeah, but
do we just let that go?
You've gone off the point about the drugs. We want to find out if he's buying the drugs, don't we?
Oh, so how are you spending your money?
Buying candies. Buying lollies down the lolly shop. You might want to kind of frame it in a different way. You see,
so is your income at the moment sufficient? Is it working for you?
To support your drug habit.
If he doesn't have a drug habit, then it might be enough. If he's living at home.
You wait for him to go, yeah, that's right. He didn't know it's not enough. You go, oh, you are using drugs. What you do is you say, what income are you on at the moment? So you've got to be kind of respectful about this. Are you getting an income? Where are you getting the income from? It's from Centrelink. Okay, so you get it. And what do you do with that money? Do you have to pay money at home? Do you pay board and lodgings to your family? Yeah, and have you got savings? Because if he's got savings, he might have saved all his money. He might be one of these guys who says all his money, squirreled it away, and he could go and get an apartment on his own. And it would be no problem for him to go lay a deposit down and rent an apartment and pay for the rental on an apartment. That could happen.
Do teenagers do that?
No, that's what you do. They spend it on drugs.
I still haven't got my head around saving.
No, but we don't know. We can't guess. We can't. But some people might do that, and so you don't know about his circumstances, and so you start asking about that, and you find out how he's what.
Do you find that in that kind of situation, if they are a drug user, they try to avoid, like they sort of tell you what you want to hear?
Sort of, but if let's say if he's using the drugs, I sound like an Irishman. He's on the drugs. He's on the drugs. If he's using substances at all, he might evade the questions. He might say, I spend it on here and there. I go out a bit. And then you go, do you go out? And he goes, no, I never go out. So there'll be lies in the story. There's usually holes in the story in that regard. But no, you kind of get, if he's isolated, he's meant to be isolated, not motivated, staying at home. So surely, where's he spending his money? And he might be paying board and lodging at home, and that's fair enough. But one of the problems might be this issue of drugs. But bringing up the money is you find out stuff about money management. Is he good at money management? Does he have a concept of money management? And that shows you a lot about his independent skills, which is important. Does he have savings? Which might give him options to do things. These sorts of things. So you bring it up and you do find out. Now, here's the thing, though. Money's normally in a relationship. The reason I brought up the money thing is in normal relationships, you don't go, all right, Danny, what sort of wage are you on then? Because that's kind of rude, isn't it? We don't talk about money. But here, we do. So that now we're talking about how we have to ask confronting questions, and we're being somewhat intrusive in this relationship. And so we have to be sort of respectful around that. We have to ask questions sensitively. And that's why I've raised this point about income on the assessment form. We do want to know this information. And sometimes different people come in with different things. So Why have you not got any money? When did you get paid? I got paid yesterday. What happened? I got robbed in the underpass again. You got robbed in the underpass last week as well, didn't you? Yes, I did.
Unlucky dude.
You think that doesn't happen? I've had that happen many times. I was giving away beds at Osnum House in Melbourne for emergency housing, and every day somebody had been robbed in the underpass. The spate of crime in that underpass. If you'd have put a policeman in there, he'd have had a huge. And it was like, you just kind of go, really? Yeah, these people. So this is why you ask these questions. Payment is an interesting one. So you want to fill in those details. How much you get? You don't need exact details. You just need about, $150 a week, $170 a week, rounded up to the tens, something like that. Now,
Can I just ask a question?
yes, of course.
Overall, like when we're working with clients, if they tell us that, they're getting the wrong payment from Centrelink or are rorting the Centrelink system,
Yeah.
do we just turn a blind eye to that?
You work for Centrelink?
Yeah.
Pardon?
You might be. You might be a case manager working for Centrelink. In that case, you can't turn a blind eye.
Oh,
But otherwise,
no.
look.
But obviously, not if you work for Centrelink, but in most other cases,
Yeah.
like for example, Aaron says, I'm getting my study payment, but I'm not studying. You just disregard that anyway? Yeah. That's okay.
You got to play that one.
If you've got a wife that comes in and says she's, claiming to be single and she gets all the benefits and stuff, but that she's happily married at home.
That is none of your business, and that won't help you. That won't help you, right? But you might want to say, look, it seems to me your husband's living at home, or you've definitely got a living partner here, and if Centrelink find out, you might be in trouble. And I would leave it there. I wouldn't say any more because you've got to keep a rapport going, and you only have to do as much. If it's a serious thing, I'm supporting terrorism, then you probably want to report that. But
we're sending our Centrelink money back to Syria.
Not another one. Oh my God. No. Very right. So we're here now. We're going to move on to the next bit, which is kind of important. We've run out of time. We're a bit over. Are we okay to keep going?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. B is not so worried at the moment. Soon he'll be saying, "I need my walk." It's his time. So we've got risk indicators here. Now, what do we say here? Mental health. What do we say? What are the questions? This is a difficult question to ask. What do we say?
How have you been feeling?
Okay, but what if he sees the form, risk indicators, mental health? What if Aaron can see you writing on a pen poised, mental health? Hello. How you feel? It might be all right, but what if he can see that?
Yeah. Have you been? Oh, hang on. I don't know.
Do you sort of tell the client sort of a little bit about, what you're doing? Like I don't know.
I normally,
in regards to mental health,
normally say I've got to write some notes about our conversation. I'm going to keep a record so that we can find out how we can help you best. I keep it that simple. I don't, and we're not skilled professionals, so I'm not saying I'm doing a mental health assessment, because we're not doing that either. And this is not a mental health assessment tool. This is an assessment tool for assessing need. So what I would say is this: have you ever had a mental health assessment?
Could you ask how have you been feeling emotionally?
Yeah, he could do, but he might have already said that when you're talking about the family personal relationships, because we're already asking about traumas there as well. But you might say, you either pick up on things that have been said in the interview. So you might say, look, you've told me you're not leaving the home, you're in conflict with your family, and I'm noticing that there's a number of indicators that sound to me like you might be suffering from perhaps some depression. Have you ever had a mental health assessment? And then if they go, yes, I did have an assessment, and people, all of a sudden, the number of times this comes up, they go, oh yes, I have a psychiatrist. And you go, why have you not told me this? How we've got to this interview, and you've not mentioned the fact that you're, anyway, so yeah, so this comes out as well. But all these things come to pass. This is why we've written the form as we've written the form, to try and pull these things out. These things get teased out. But you can be kind of respectful, but you can say, have you ever had a mental health assessment? Or it sounds to me, there's things that you learn in experiential things about things like people having a difference between personality disorders, or you can identify maybe something sounds like schizophrenia, or a difference between depression and maybe somebody's just, so there's a thing called situational depression. There's a really more extreme forms of depression, and they have different manifestations for people. And as you work, you begin to see what these are a little more clearly. But we can't go into that now. But there's differences that you can begin to identify. And so if things aren't making sense for you, or you're seeing that somebody's not reacting in a usual way to something, somebody said, I went to the shop and they didn't give me the right change, so I never left the house for a week. You kind of see an unreasonable reaction to circumstances that occur. My knee is talking to me, that sort of thing. I've had that before. What's your name? Arthur Bloke. I shouldn't have said that, because that was his name.
What would you write? What would you actually write in your notes? Like, you wouldn't write the actual incident they told you about, would you?
You might outline the circumstances, the evidence that the situation might indicate mental health. So, for example, Aaron. Yeah. So you would say Aaron. Aaron has communicated that he's isolated himself. He spends a lot of time alone in his bedroom. He's got some conflict with his parents. There may be some issues with substance use, or I'm sensing an underlying. Some teenagers are moody and spend time alone in their bedroom. That's okay. Sometimes that's too extreme. If things are failing around his life, like he's given up school, he can't attend work, he's not motivated to do things, that's an indicator there's a mental health problem. So you would say, these are indications to me that, given the failing at school, the problems with the parents, that things are falling by the wayside because of his behavior. That's an indication.
So would you just put in your notes, like, due to these circumstances, I believe there's an underlying mental health issue that needs to be explored.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And then in big letters, refer to mental health form or mental health assessment in big block capital letters, stars around it.
Okay, because you don't try and say, oh, he may be depressed, or he may have this. Say this is the symptoms, and
this could be an indicator of depression. But even that, even saying it, you could be in trouble legally, because what do you know? If you go to court, somebody says, how do you know?
Yeah.
Are you a mental health professional? And you say, no. And they go, so why are you saying he's suffering depression? Right, because, there's the thing is, he seems depressed. That is a common, are you depressed, mate? You look a bit depressed today. That's a statement of emotional well-being. That's not a statement of a mental health issue, right? So there's kind of common language, common parlance that goes on. Here he is. There's the common parlance that goes on. You have to wait. We're going to wait, mate. There's no time. We're not going yet. So there's a common thing, and then there's the more serious ideas that we need to represent as well. So I would say there appears to be a mental health issue, because, and then you have to link the evidence with what you're writing, because Aaron is experiencing relationship breakdowns with his family, because he's falling out of his education placement, because he's isolating himself at home, I suspect there may be a mental health issue. Refer for mental health assessment. I would, and you link the causes very clearly with the outcome. Why do you don't, and you're not saying that you're not diagnosing anything as a doctor. You're saying, I suspect, and you've done your job as far as you need to do it. The other thing might be, look at this. What if you say, Aaron seems to be a normal teenager who's not talking to his parents and he's not attending college. I suspect he might be using substances because he won't tell me about his income and he can't explain where he spends his income. And the risk indicators may be that I feel he's taking substances, but I'm not clear on what that might be. But I'm not aware of any mental health issues. Now, if you write that down, he goes out next week and kills himself, and you go to court, you're not going to be in trouble because you've listed why you believe one thing occurred, and you're not a mental health expert either. So in both regards, you've done your job. You've gone, I think that, and that equals that, but I don't know, so I'm sending him to a professional for assessment. Or I'm not sending him because this information leads me to believe another thing. As long as we're clear about what that is. Simple, clear statements. Don't use big adjectives. Don't use clinical terms you're not clear about what they mean. Use simple, basic English that indicates what you think is going on for that person at the time. And then indicate why you're making decisions about things. And that might be, I recommended Aaron attend a mental health assessment. He declined. He emphatically declined. I wouldn't use the word emphatically either. I'd just say he clearly declined that invitation. And I recommended to him the risks that I felt with not getting a mental health assessment. And I believe this is an important element in providing support to Aaron at this time. I would write that down very clearly if he declined it. So that way, if he,
sorry.
Carry on, Danny.
I was just going to say, do you ever write anything about like how a client looks when they come in? Say like if he had dirty clothes or he was,
yeah, you might.
I don't know, disheveled, or you don't sort of write that stuff because
personal care needed attention. You wouldn't say he is dirty.
Yeah.
Or he appeared.
Yeah. Or it seemed to me, I'm concerned this person might not be taking care of his personal hygiene if he smells,
yeah.
Or she. Yeah, absolutely. And you should write that down. And you've got to be respectful, but you should be doing things like saying, there was a definite smell of urine.
Yeah.
You can say that without being disrespectful. And if the client reads that, ultimately you say, you do smell of urine. You're obviously not changing your underclothes.
Yeah.
You may be, have you got a continence problem? You have to be, because we're in this profession, sometimes, like with the money, you have to be kind of forthright in making statements to people without being disrespectful. You don't, oh, you stink. Why haven't you taken a bath? I am obliged to tell you this because there are people that will do that. So the same with the drugs. Exactly the same with the drugs. Do you use substances? What substances do you use? Do you experiment? Aaron's 19, right? Do you ever experiment? Have you experimented? What do you think about drugs? Is there a lot of drug use around your friends? You can, and if you don't believe them, you just ask more and more questions. You don't keep repeating the question, but you ask more and more questions. Do you or any of your friends, do you ever smoke the occasional joint? Do you drink a lot? Find out if the problem might be legal substance use, drinking or something. Have you had an experience with chroming? I mean, there's all sorts of other young people type aberrant substance misuse situations occurring as well. So again, indicate that. The same thing with the risks. Indicate the risk. The client has indicated that they are smoking a huge amount of marijuana, and that's where all their income is going. And I've invited them to go and attend some AOD counselling, and they declined. What can I do? You know, you write that down. So you have to be very clear about what you're identifying. Identify anything else you've got here, like physical health injuries. Physical health is something that you might go undiagnosed until they stand up and they seem to be in pain and start shuffling away from the table. That sort of thing might not be immediately evident as well. ABI is acquired brain injury. Think about any slowness. ABI might actually affect walking and things like this, and decision making and mood. ABI is an interesting thing you should probably go and do a bit of research on if you don't know much about it. Acquired brain injuries can come about through congenital defects. They can be driven by things like intolerance to drugs. So somebody can have a bad reaction that can cause an acquired brain injury. Somebody can have an accident as well. So it can be physical, substance related, or congenital. So it's worth working out. There's some interesting, I've done everything. I used to be an advocate for people with acquired brain injuries. And that's an interesting thing that a lot of people don't know much about as a physical disability. It's a physical and sometimes learning disability as well. It can have cognitive impairments. Somebody could be vulnerable, especially vulnerable, because of their mental health, physical health, learning disabilities, or ABIs. So you might want to identify that. That's why that's listed under risk behaviors, because they're vulnerable. And any other things you can put in there. If you think somebody is physically weak and they're indicating to you that they've been abused somewhere along the line, you might want to write that down there as well.
So are these things that you notice, or are we asking the client?
You have to look for these things, listen for them, make sure.
So you don't ask them and say, do you have a disability? Like you don't ask people.
You could, and the form could be written in a different way. Some forms are written where it says, do you have a registered disability?
Okay.
Are you on a disability payment, for example? The income, I'm on a DSP. Okay, so you've got a disability. What's your disability? Those sorts of things. But as I said to you, this is a tool for you to use so that you, at the end of the day, your one goal isn't to fill this document in. It's to have an understanding of the person. This is a meeting agenda for you. This is an option for you to write down information. But think of it like a meeting agenda. When you go to a meeting, you go through this point by point, and you ask questions until you feel you're satisfied you know the answers. And that's really what this is. That's how you should treat these documents. And if there's something else, you can cross this out and write your own question in there.
So if a client was kind of, seemed like they weren't talking properly or might have some kind of brain injury.
Yep.
Would you just come out and say, have you got an acquired brain injury? Or is that just
I would say you sound like you're slurring your words to me. Have you got a disability? Have you been drinking? Are you substance affected? Something like, and I would just ask them. And seriously, I'm not afraid if somebody's got a disability. You don't kind of treat them with kid gloves. You do say, you're in a wheelchair. Is that a problem for you? Just ask them. It's these oversensitivity towards people with disabilities that is usually the biggest problem. Whereas if you're just quite open about it, people tend to be quite open back, and they go, I'm accepting of it, you're accepting of it, let's talk about it.
But in general, like you said, it's hard because you're trying to be polite and not rude. It's sort of like a hard thing to get it out of, you know what I mean?
Like say, have you got Sorry.
Sorry, Carla, you're right. Go.
Well, what if you say to someone, oh, have you got an acquired brain injury? And they turn around and say, no. Does that not sort of indicate you think there's something wrong with them?
Yeah.
They're like, no, why would you think I've got a brain injury?
But I would justify that and say, look, I'm concerned that you might have some sort of problem because I'm asking you questions and you're taking a long time to answer. You're struggling to find the language that you need to find. You know, obviously, they might not speak English as a first language. That might be a problem. They might clearly have a brain injury that's related to substance use. We forgot that one, didn't we? Chroming, that's a killer of brain cells, that one. I've seen people with very significant brain injury from sniffing paint and glue. You know, it's like it's the most devastating drug I've ever seen. I think ice might be maybe a bit worse, but maybe a bit worse, but in a different way. You know, burning synapses. But, you know, in terms of the level of destruction, the way it turns people into Neanderthal man, it's unbelievable. So, yeah, I might be going, if I don't see any evidence to the contrary, I would say, have you got an acquired brain injury? Yeah. And why is it that you can't respond to me when I ask you questions? Well, okay, I think you've got an acquired brain injury. Okay. And the other thing is, you know, if we talk about how, you know, you might say, look, I'm concerned, we're talking about being open and honest with people with disabilities. I've seen people in wheelchairs, I've had these conversations where I've had clients come in wheelchairs, and I said, look, my friend, there's a distinct smell of urine about you. You're in a wheelchair. Have you got a colostomy bag that needs changing? Or have you got a leak in your colostomy bag? And I've had homeless people in wheelchairs who've done that, who I've had to have these conversations with. And you do it because you need to say, you know, you're not going to win any friends here if you're walking around smelling of urine. I understand that you're in a wheelchair, but you need to maintain your personal hygiene. And if you've got a colostomy bag, that's even more important because there's all sorts of infections and things that can occur. And that can be quite serious for the client. So you have to be a bit brutal sometimes, and sometimes in interviews we talk about maintaining respect and being respectful, and certainly that is 99% the way to go. But at other times I will turn around and say, look, you come in, you're asking me for money, you're saying that, and you're saying there's nothing wrong. I'm sorry, I can't, there's nothing I can see. I have to write a reason for helping you. And if you can't give me a reason, then I can't help you. And you try and go that last thing, even though at the end of the day, I want to say this, that if somebody is not giving you information, that shouldn't become a barrier to them receiving a service. This is an important point. They might not be very giving, but they might not feel comfortable about doing that. And you can't hold a service back as like a carrot on a stick and going, give me the information or you don't get the service. You can't, but you can. You shouldn't have to. But occasionally you might have to say that to somebody, and you can, if it's discretionary on your part, then you can say, look, I'm going to make a decision that I'm not able to help you today because I'm not clear that, you know, you got paid yesterday. You've not told me where the money's going. You said you don't have a substance problem, but you still need me to give you money to pay your rent today when you got paid yesterday. So what am I meant to do with that information? So sometimes we have to be very clear. We're handling resources that are community resources. Let me, it's gone on for an hour now. Let me just, is there any more? History of services, this is the last one. That I think, have you find out, is there a history of any services? Have you been involved with another community service? Have you been into another service saying have you been homeless in the past? Have you had problems with domestic violence in the past? Or whatever the presenting issue is, are you involved with any services now? Are you getting support from another agency for any reason? and you can ask that question, and when they go, oh yeah, I've got 5 agencies, I've got 5 caseworkers. You go, what are you talking to me? And that happens too. So people go shopping through agencies as well, like doctor shopping. They go agency shopping for services and things like that. And some people are just very desperate people who, are in desperate circumstances. Then you can talk about strength. You identify so this is for you to write down afterwards. These first pages up to page 2 and 3 are to help you with your case planning, with your assessment report, I beg your pardon. When it comes down to pages 4 and 5 of this tool, strengths, support needs, these are to help you with the case planning. And then there's this, you've got to link the support needs to the case plan goals. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So pages 4 and 5 should kind of match. And then that should enable you to do assessments 2A, 2B, and 2C using this document. So you print out 3 of these documents from the website and take them with you to your assessments, and then use the information that you get from these documents to help you with assessments 2B, 2C, and 2A as well. One document.
Do you mean to
fill this
so
in?
should we fill these in before we go to the campus, like as in?
No, go to the campus, do the assessments, and listen to other people and write down, fill in all 3 documents, fill in documents for each client. As you're listening to other people do their interviews, I think you will be.
Yeah, so print them off prior to the workshop.
Yeah, print them out and take them with you as a tool. This is to help you. This is not for you to upload to the portal. This is to assist you to manage your interviews properly, and then to record the information, and then to use the information for assessment 2B during week 8, which is the assessment report, which will be based on pages 2 and 3, and then 2C, which is a case management plan, which will be based on pages 4 and 5.
Where are you located, Danny?
I'm in Gunnedah. I'm flying to Brisbane for mine because my brother stays there. So yeah, I'm going to come here for the weekend.
Good luck. Good luck, everyone. I don't know anything about the Brisbane one. Well, good luck for everybody. And I'll be back on Saturday. But if you know... Oh,
yeah, it's all right. It's all right.
Okay.
On Saturday. Saturday's the last one before break.
But we'll kind of just do a repeat of this in case people need to ask any questions about the on-campus.
On Saturday. On
Saturday at 4 o'clock.
Yeah. So we're just going to repeat what we've done today.
Sort of. Yeah. I'll be going through the same kind of information if people come.
Yeah.
So if you don't come, and if you do come, it'll probably be much the same. And if there's anything else you want to ask, turn up. I'll be here. I'm here for you.
I do have a quick question.
Sure, yeah.
About sort of the course in general, not so much just this class. So I don't know if you'll be able to help or not. But where it says like you do your 200 hours work placement and then 10 hours personal development, where do we get our 10 hours personal development?
That is a very good question that I don't know the answer to.
I think they stopped it. They don't have fun. They didn't get enough funding to do the 10 hours because you said the peer reflection groups with your with whoever your supervisor was or whatever. So you do it online. You do 10 hours. So you do an hour every week. But I don't think they do it this semester. They've stopped it altogether.
Okay, cool. Because I did read originally it was like 200 hours work placement, 10 hours personal development, but now it just says 210 hours work placement.
Extra work.
Yeah.
But that's all right. So personal development's not something that we need to be worrying about as well.
No, as far as I know, they stopped it because they didn't get funding for it, enough money. So yeah,
Cool. Thank you.
all good.
Let's go. That's why we're here. Thank you, Carly, for that question. Is there any more?
No worries.
Is there anything else we can help with? Done very well today. I think today is very productive. So thanks for your time. And if there's any other questions, you can drop me an email, or I'll be around on Saturday. And then we're going to have a week's holiday. So it'll be 2 weeks today before, next one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
So it'll all be off to the sunshine. Probably not. No. Okay. See ya. Have a good week. And I'll be
You
back.
too.
Take care, Danny. Thanks, Carl. I'll see you soon.
Thank
See ya.
you.
Oh,
See ya.
I've always said I always end it too early.